Hi again everyone. This is the first video of a series of probably about 8 or 10 of albums that I've picked up, just odds and ends that I've picked up in the last 6 months to a year probably. And I will spread these out over a number of days and stuff so I don't just swamp everybody with videos. But the first, and it's roughly in alphabetical order as well. The first album is ABC's Alphabet City. It's from the late 80s. AC/DC, Back in Black. And these first three, these cost me 10 cents each. Might already have a couple of these. AC/DC, For Those About to Rock. American Flyer, now this was kind of interesting. American Flyer, mid-70s, was kind of a super group in a way. It was on United Artists. They had 2 albums. They had members of Pure Prairie League. Steve Katz was from Blood, Sweat and Tears, and Doug Yule was from the Velvet Underground. But it's kind of a country rock kind of thing. This album was produced by George Martin. Bachman Turner Overdrive, Best Of. And the reason why I picked this up is because I think I'm probably going to sell my early BTO albums, because they're so uneven. I mean, the hits are great, but the rest of the albums really aren't quite as good. Baker Gurvitz Army, Elysian Encounter. Ginger Baker from Cream, Adrian Gurvitz. I think he was in Three Man Army and a band called Gun at one time. Bananarama, Venus. This is the 12-inch single. The long versions of Venus, different mixes. Bananarama, I Heard a Rumor. Same thing, 12-inch singles, 12-inch mixes. Band called Bandit, called Partners in Crime. And looking at the cover, you'd think this is an American band. I'm not saying that Americans like guns, but looks kind of a Western theme. But they're actually a British band, and I know nothing about them except I noticed the production on this is by Matthew Fisher. Matthew Fisher was the organist in Procol Harum back in the late 60s. He produced that. Barclay James Harvest, Octoberon. Charlie's Choice, Charlie Barnett and his orchestra. This is a big band recording, probably a collection of 78s from the 1940s. It's on RCA Camden. This is kind of a Beach Boys collectible. It's called Shut Down. It has the Beach Boys. Robert Mitchum does Thunder Road on this. It's a compilation album, Capitol Recording Artists. And the 2 Beach Boys tracks are Shut Down and 409. Definitely a car theme throughout these tracks. It's mono too, as Brian would have liked it. Beatles Abbey Road. This is an 80s copy. This is a very interesting album. It's The Non-Such Guide to Electronic Music by Paul Beaver and Bernie Krause. And this came out in 1967, and it's kind of one of the landmark albums in electronic recording, electronic music. It's the introduction of the Moog synthesizer. It's a double album. Has a booklet inside. It explains all about electronic music. A lot of symbols and explanations of how things work with electronic music. And it was a big influence, especially Paul Beaver. He got to know the Byrds and George Martin and George Harrison, and basically introduced electronic music to some of these people. This is a later, well, not too late, but it's a Bee Gees album called Life in a Tin Can from the early 70s, 1973. And it was definitely during a time in their careers when things weren't going quite so well. But it has an interesting cover with a pull tab. And I don't recognize any songs on here as being hits, but I think it was the only Bee Gees record that I was missing from my early Bee Gees collection. Chuck Berry's Golden Decade. Most people should know this. It's a double album, its greatest hits. I believe there are 3 Golden Decade albums, 3 double albums of Chuck Berry's Golden Decades. Blue Oyster Cult, Tyranny and Mutation. which is their second or third album. It's from, I think it's 1973. They had these really cool black and white covers and very symbolic kind of stuff. This is a fantastic album. If you don't have it, you should pick this up if you can find it. It's Tommy Bolin's Teaser. It's his first solo album. I won't explain the history of Tommy Bolin, but it's a great album. The second album, Private Eyes, I don't like it as much as the Teaser album. This is The Crazy World of Arthur Brown. It's from, I think, 1968. It's the album that contains this hit song, Fire. In Canada, it's on Polydor. It's probably on different labels elsewhere. This album is a compilation album, The Bull on Ripoff, 10 favorite all-time heavies. And it's from the late 60s, maybe 1970, I suppose. It might have only come out in Canada, I don't know. Because here in the bottom it says endorsed by leading rock jocks coast to coast, and these are all Canadian disc jockeys. Some of them I do recall, the ones from Toronto where I grew up, like Duff Roman. And the songs on here, it's all Columbia artists, it's Columbia Special Products. And what I like about this is a couple of tracks on here that are kind of hard to get, like As Tears Go By Mash McCann, Pacific Gas and Electric, Are You Ready, which was a really, really good hit single, and you don't really find that Pacific Gas and Electric album around. And the last one in this selection is James Burton and Ralph Mooney, Corn Pickin' and Slick Slidin'. Now, James Burton, the guitar player, famous session musician. Although he played with Elvis's band, he played with Ricky Nelson earlier on, and many people. Emmylou Harris, famous with the Telecaster and his pickin'. And Ralph Mooney was a pedal steel guitar player. And hopefully, I haven't played this yet, but hopefully it's something like Speedy West and Jimmy Bryant from the 1950s, whose records were pretty amazing. But this one's a kind of a hard one to find. Thanks for watching, everyone.